Well, good morning again, everybody. Thanks for coming to the main stage here at ISE 2019. My name is Brad Grimes. I'm with AVIXA, the Audiovisual and Integrated Experience Association. Again, on behalf of AVIXA and our partners, ISE and CEDIA, we're glad that you're in Amsterdam this week to take in everything that this amazing, huge show has to offer. I've had the pleasure the last couple of days of being here on the main stage with some of the shortlisted companies for the AVI Awards, which were handed out last fall. AVIXA and AV Magazine were proud to recognize companies for their outstanding contribution to creating integrated experiences, which is what we're all in the business of doing. We're in the business of Deborah Jones in the panel just before us talked about the fact that that's the business we're in. We're in the business of taking discrete technologies, audio, video, control, lighting, you name it, we've got it, and pulling them all together to create experiences that create outcomes and awesome experiences and entertainment, collaboration, communication, everything that the public really comes to expect today from audiovisual systems. So yesterday I had the pleasure of talking to a couple of companies that specialize in some great systems in museum AV and retail AV. Today I'm joined by Christoph Wegner of Amptown Systems. He's going to talk about what it takes to pull together audiovisual solutions for event support. They work in some amazing venues. Hopefully in your careers you've had an opportunity to work on projects like these, but he's going to share some of their experiences and we'll have a nice conversation. If we have some time at the end for some questions, we would love to do that. So Christoph, welcome. I'm going to give you the steering wheel.
Okay, maybe
you can go right past that because I already did that part, but thank you.
Okay, good morning everybody. Yeah, thanks Brad for asking me the questions, and thank you, AVIXA, for giving us the opportunity to present ourselves. My name is Christoph Wegner from the Amptown System company. We are a system integrator based in Hamburg. This is where I come from, so I'm a real Hamburger. And I studied media engineering in Hamburg more than 30 years ago, and worked at the audio mixing desk and producing feedbacks a couple of years ago. And right now, after I finished the study, I started working as a project manager in Hamburg. Right now, I run our office in Berlin. I'm the branch manager in Berlin. And as we have another office in Frankfurt, and the main people sitting in Hamburg, we're about 170 people and do media technology permanent installation. And now I have the possibility to talk about some real interesting projects for me and for our company. This was one we started in Berlin with the opera in Berlin. We got the order 2012. This was one of the most long-term running projects I ever had, and we're not finished yet. But the opera opened, and we were to install audio, video, and the distribution system there, and the opera had to improve its acoustics. The reverberation time had to be longer. And so the architects decided to lift up the roof for 4.5 meters to get better natural sound. Because electroacoustics is not always able to better what the room doesn't give you. And there we had the difficulty in just implementing audio, the loudspeakers, the microphones within an historical building. And we typically distinguish between two types of projects, the new build ones where we are able to install everything new, pull the cables and do the installations in a new building. Or here in a historic building, you see these golden things there, and sometimes it's visible. But here we have about 43 microphones, nearly invisible in the balcony. We have more than 150 loudspeakers in there to have 3D sound installed in this historical building.
Well, I wanted to ask you real briefly. I had the pleasure of being in Berlin last fall and went by the Opera House. These days, audiovisual technologies are such that every space can be an event space almost. I mean, you have brand reveals in all sorts of places. You have, a retail outlet is not just a store anymore. It's a place where things happen. In this case, this is a beautiful historic building. Beautiful historic buildings are wonderful event spaces, and people want to do things there. How do you work in a historic building? Are there special considerations? Can't do this, can do that, and how do you navigate that?
Yeah, it's very challenging to install all these microphones and loudspeakers being invisible, because the architect doesn't want his nice building to be destroyed, and we want the loudspeakers to be heard, and this is where we had to find compromises between the architecture, the consultants, and as we are only the guys to deliver the media technology, we had to do some speeches with them. And as you see, the lighting department was able to put all the lights there. We were the ones to step back, and our loudspeakers are nearly invisible. We painted the coating of the speakers right in front, right and left, and you don't see them anymore.
No, not at all.
This is a new building. Maybe you saw this silhouette of the Elbphilharmonie in Hamburg. And this was a very nice project for me, as well as being a hamburger, as I told you. And this is a new build. You have this very seldom in our business, being completely new, brick by brick. And here the loudspeakers, these 6-1 in the middle, they come from the ceiling if they are needed. There you have beam steering loudspeakers in there, where we had to engineer that the beam just hits the audiences and not the room. This was very challenging as well.
Now, for an event space, a new build in an event space like this, how important is it to have the highest quality audiovisual experience? In certain types of event spaces, it's almost a rental and stage. They can bring in equipment if they needed to, but the house system, you have to raise the game now, because it just needs to be a better experience now than bringing in equipment all the time.
Yeah, sometimes you can't bring the equipment like in this room here, because the architect just wanted to build an ellipse in ellipse. This is the Bahnbäum Site Academy in Berlin, right next to the opera. And he said, we don't want to have anything brought in here. We want to have our clean room. So we also there installed loudspeakers, nearly invisible, but the room does itself. It's a nice room. The architect cared for the acoustic. So you don't have to bring in that much in this room.
So you mentioned the architect, and that's for a room that's going to look that beautiful, that's going to sound and look that good. When did you get involved? Were you there when the architect was setting it up to maximize the acoustics, so that not only does the space, is it beautiful, is it acoustically tuned, but it works with the technology? I mean, you probably have to be in there early.
Yeah, but in fact we are not always that early,
Yeah.
because we have the consultants working together with the architects, and as we are in the market for about 25 years now, we know most of the well-known architects and acoustic engineers and the audio-video consultants. I mean, not engineers. We have the engineers by ourselves, and our engineering part is when the consultants and the customer already agreed what kind of type it will be. And then what we do is that we slightly optimize and give our kind of experience in each project.
Okay, great.
This was here in King, in Ingelheim. This was very interesting because what they did there, they invented a variable room acoustic. So we have a Meyer Sound constellation system installed there, and the guys from King are able to switch between room acoustic needed for speech and can adapt it electronically to a church hall within just one room. And so this gives the guys from King the opportunity to sell their room for many more artists than they had the possibility to do before.
That's great. That's great.
Now we switch to Berlin again. This was a nice project right in the middle of Berlin, unter den Linden, Ecke Friedrichstraße. Volkswagen Konzernforum. This is where Volkswagen has a big event place, and they can do concert as you see here. We have a 3D audio system installed there as well. You see 150 loudspeakers. No, you don't see them because they're hidden in the wall and in the ceiling, and we can vary the room acoustic there as well. And it's a very big room, but Volkswagen can use it for exhibitions and also for music shows. You see here, it's a 40 square meters LED the wall. So we did not only do the acoustics and the sound reinforcement. This was a project where we could perform on all the things our engineers are good in. We have audio, we have video, lighting, and control. Mm-hmm. So we controlled even the building lighting there and did everything. So M-Town as a one-stop service provider could provide all our engineering possibilities and capabilities there.
Are you seeing more projects like that? This sort of dovetails on what I was saying earlier, that every space can be an event space. It's not just a performance hall or an auditorium or something like that. More and more retailers have these flagship experience stores where they do want to bring in 50 people and an artist or something like that, and so it needs to function as more of an event space. Are you seeing more of those types of projects?
More of these because they have only one space and they want to use it so multi-purpose, like here Volkswagen does. Yes. I think there are more and more coming, and 3D audio is going to come more. You can position your sound wherever you want to, can combine it with 3D tracking systems. We're right now working on 3D tracking systems, combining with audio and lighting.
And do customers understand that type of experience, that type of technology? If you went to Volkswagen building out a show space and said we can offer you 3D audio, is that how you would put it, or how would you explain to them what you could offer?
This was not our job. This was the job of the consultant to convince Volkswagen to do so. And a very nice guy on the consultant side said to Volkswagen, this is what you have to do, and you're gonna need it, and you will be happy. And Volkswagen, I know, is happy of what they have there, and this was
looks like
4 years ago. And well, in fact, I had the opportunity to sit in some of these cars during the installation. This is sometimes the fun in
sure.
in our job to look just beside what they are doing there. So what we have next? Oops, what? Again, Volkswagen.
That's beautiful. It really is a beautiful space.
Oh, cruise ships, yeah. Not my personally business, as I'm the head of sales of the land-based projects, but cruise ship entertainment system is half of M-Town's business.
Wow.
And it's nearly pretty much the same what kind of technology we're using, but it's another type of installation. It's more logistical problem to install one cruise ship, because you have so many event places that have to be equipped within a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Ida Nova. This is the last cruise ship we built.
Oh, wow.
And during the last weeks of installation, we had about 70 of our engineers there at one time, and to fixing the installation, to tuning the sound and video system. And this was very hard work.
Now,
these guys.
The window of opportunity to do a project like that has got to be very narrow. You have to do it basically when they're docked, and when they're docked, they're not making any money, so they don't want to be docked that often. Has your company seen that as a challenge, and do you adjust the way you work?
Yeah, it's a challenge because the first cruise is already sold.
Right.
And they have to leave the port. And we, the audio and video guys, are the last on ship. All the others already left the building, and we are just the guys still working. Two of my colleagues sitting over there, they know what I'm talking about. We're always the last guys who have to fix it day and night working. But this is what our job is, and that's what we do.
I know it's not moving, but I'm getting a little queasy just looking at it, but it's a beautiful space.
We do international business as well. This is in Estonia. This is where we built a whole theater, did everything there, cable pulling to audio, video, lighting, and control system installation. And unfortunately, we didn't win the prize yesterday. We were nominated at the AVIXA Awards for this project.
Oh, for this project.
Unfortunately, we didn't win it.
When did that open? When did this?
This was last year, I think.
That was beautiful.
Last year. So, yeah, I think that's it.
So, how have the solutions? You mentioned the system that you can tune a space to different types of events and speeches versus music. How is the technology that goes into the event spaces evolved in the last few years? Or is your palette just infinite now? Can you do just amazing things now because technology's come that far?
Technology is going more and more digital. Right now we're talking about 128, 200, 300 signals running, audio signals, video signals running all over the place. And this has increased within the last years.
And what types of projects do you have coming up? Anything exciting?
Yeah, really exciting.
Okay, good.
But the most exciting thing is that the projects, they're secret and I am not allowed to talk about them.
Ask him afterwards, please.
What is a project? For me personally, a project is not only the building media technology. Project for me also is what are we doing with our employees. And as being in the management, we are not thinking only about. We are just investing in our people, in our employees. I'm sure we're going to do the CTS training in German for our employees, just keeping up business with state of the art, doing entertainment. And entertainment. M-Town stands for entertainment, and I'm sure everything is going more digital and more virtual.
Yeah.
But going into a theater, being part of the show, seeing people acting live, and feeling this live event. That will never stop. That will never go into the cloud or be virtual.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is why I'm very confident that we M-Town will be continuing in this very interesting event business.
It's the most experiential of the experience part of what we do. It's the event. Thank you. I appreciate that time. Do we have any questions from the audience? I haven't had a chance yet in these to open it up for any questions. Any questions? Yes, and I will repeat it because I've got the mic.
A question in terms of your relationship with the manufacturers. The manufacturers always want to be closely aligned with the end user. How does that work with you specifying that equipment as opposed to the manufacturer wanting to be there in your specifications?
The question has to do with your relationship with manufacturers.
Okay.
How do you work? How do you work that, and how does a manufacturer?
And how does that manufacturer work with the end user?
Okay. And how does a manufacturer work with your end
as
users?
we for more than 25 years in the business, we know many manufacturers personally. Not only the owners, but the project managers, and we talk to the manufacturers like D&B or Meyer Sound, speaking about loudspeakers, and they were adapting their projects, consulting the consultants for the customer. So, for example, in the cruise ships, you have these route weather, and so we invented together with the manufacturers some kind of solutions for stainless steel example, and our experience as we have, especially cruise ships, we can look behind 10, 12 years now, we have the experience what happens in the rough weather and what has to be tuned. So we give them feedback.
The feedback loop is important.
Feedback. Well, the customer as well does, because he uses the things every day. And our technical department talks to the customer and talks to the manufacturer.
Anything else? Real quick. I had one more question. How have the timelines, you briefly alluded to the timelines of some of these projects.
Yeah.
One of the great things about audiovisual solutions today is that the end user is far more aware. The end user, I planted that question about understanding 3D audio and things, but they're just a web browser away from finding out a lot about technologies and what can be done and what can be done in there. Have project timelines condensed because end users pretty much have an idea of what they want and they want it now and they feel like they can get it now? Or do you still have the room that you need to tune a place to exactly how it needs to be?
Usually we don't have the room we need. But that is not just because of the end user, it's because of the surrounding projects.
Sure.
This is that the architects change their architecture every week. We have to react. And time between just pitching on a project, winning the contract, and then starting building condenses.
Yeah.
Compared with decades ago, we have less time building it and finish it.
That's a challenge.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Christoph. I'll grab that from you so that you don't have to worry about it. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Oh, I didn't even do that.
It was me. It was me.
Oh, thank you. You're good. You need to come for the next
Yeah.
ones. But thank you very much for joining us. Christoph did allude to CTS. It's our certification program. We're launching this week in German. We will be talking about that tomorrow on this stage as well. But visit AVIXA in our booth. You can see the number here. Christoph, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, it
We
was a
really
pleasure for me.
appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank Christoph for his time here too. But thank you for coming.